Hey guys, Asocialist here, back with another video, and this week I'm talking about my new doctor who told me that ADHD and depression don't exist. But before we do that, real quick, I just want to give a shout out to MR for letting me know that Kevin Gates just dropped Luca Brasi 3. So if anyone knows me and him, we're both major Kevin Gates fans, so I definitely relate to this album a lot, and pretty much a lot of his music. So really excited for that. This is going to be a good weekend because of that. So let's get right into it. So for everyone that's been following me and watching my other videos, I've been here for going on 2 months now. It'll be 2 months Monday that I've been here. So just got a new doctor. Went to what they call a PCP, my primary care provider. And so I was like, all right, well, let me just, test this doctor out that was in the area, just close by, had some, good reviews. So I go in, I tell him all my symptoms and whatnot, and I show him my big 15-page packet about me having ADHD, and just tell him all the symptoms I've had and everything I've been through up until this point. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to fill him out. I have the paperwork. It's going to look good. He's going to have some type of reference. And so I tell him everything, give him the packet. He starts going through it, and then out of nowhere, he just stops. Like, he's just like, oh, I'll just, photocopy this. I was like, okay, I thought maybe he'd want to read it. Then he proceeds to tell me that ADHD doesn't exist, depression doesn't exist, anxiety doesn't exist, and it's all things that you cure with your mind and good thoughts. And so I'm like, okay. So I've been there for 10 minutes now, and I'm like, all right, I really already don't like this guy, but let me just, give him the benefit of the doubt. It's just his personal feelings. Maybe he'll say something else or, pull out some type of science. I don't know, something. But instead, he proceeds to keep going on a 20-minute tangent about how they did this study and the mind, it could be in the brain or it could be in the heart. You don't know where it is. I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But then he starts going off about how, on this religious tangent, that God is the one that wakes us up in the morning, God digests our food, and God allows us to fall asleep at night, and how you just need to pray and have good thoughts, and you can get rid of ADHD and to just focus more. And whenever anyone tells me that about ADHD, I'm already turned off. They're like, oh, well, you need to focus more. I'm like, that's not how this works, like, at all. I'm not here for that. So. It is much more than that. Anyone who's ever had it or studied it knows that it's not just, hey, well, if I just focus more, you're like, oh, gee, thanks. That's so great. It's like when you tell someone that has depression, hey, cheer up. You're like, oh, that's all I had to do? Well, bust my buttons. Golly gee, I didn't know. Never thought of that. Don't say stuff like that. Obviously, that's not the cure. And so weird thing was, afterwards, he still prescribed me Zoloft for the thing he said doesn't exist. And so I was like, all right, whatever. Let's just try this out and we'll see how it goes. And that first month, as you guys saw, was pretty rough. Last week I didn't record because I got this random bout of depression. I literally stayed in the house the whole day. It was crazy. But heck, this week's going to be a good week. So we'll see how this goes. Yesterday was wild at work, and I'll probably do a video on that at some point. But I got into it with a coworker. He's a dickhead, so there's that. But I'll tell you about that another time. So anyway, I leave. I set an appointment for the next 2 weeks. Then I come back, follow up with some blood work. And mind you, I think I'm getting in there 5 or 10 minutes early. I got there. My appointment was for 10 a.m. I got there at 9:50. Between 9:50 and 9:55. And so I'm feeling good. I'm like, oh, I'm in here early this time, so I won't have to wait as long. 10:45 rolls around. I'm still waiting. So I finally stand up and I'm like, hey, am I going? She's like, yeah, you're going to be next, cuts me off and tells me I'm going to be next. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to be the next one to go in finally, even though my appointment was at 10. Then I find out, and I was like, oh, well, I have to go to work here in 15 minutes. And so then she tells me, oh, I actually had you down for 9:15. I'm like, but the email you sent me said 10 o'clock. We also confirmed 10 o'clock when I was here. And I showed her the email that she sent me. And she's like, Oh, okay, yeah, I see. Okay, yeah, 10 o'clock. All right, well, did you want to reschedule? And I was like, yeah, I don't have time. I can't wait and go in now. And then he's going to give me another session about chakras and all this other stuff, And I'm like, not that I'm downing that, by all means. It seemed like he had a bit of a holistic approach to it. Like, hey, let's just solve everything all together. And I'm like, I understand that, and that's fine. I don't have anything against people's religious views or however you want to, tackle certain medical issues or whatever. If you're like, hey, I don't like that the Western world's view of medication for everything, completely understand that. That's fine. That's cool. That's your thing. But I didn't go there for that. I didn't go to a church. I didn't go to a synagogue and be like, hey, the spiritual side of me needs healing. I need help with this. I specifically went to a medical professional for seeking medical help. I wanted his medical opinion. And I feel like he gave me more of his personal opinion. And I didn't want that, And it's like, you do want a doctor's personal opinion to an extent. I don't want that much of it, to the point where he's telling me, hey, you just gotta pray on it. Like, I don't want to pray on it. I didn't come here to pray on it. Anyway, back to the scheduling issue. So she says, yeah, we'll reschedule. We'll reschedule you and it'll be free. And I'm like, yeah, no shit. I wasn't paying for it anyway. Like, why would I pay to reschedule a session that you screwed up and then you admitted that you did, So I think I'm all done with that place. I'm going to cancel. I actually got a great recommendation from a coworker. And so I'm going to go ahead and try that out, as well as some of these mobile counseling apps that I've seen. And there's one, I think it's called BetterHelp, that my insurance covers. So I'm going to try that out because I'm cheap. And I guess the alternatives aren't too expensive when you compare them to paying $300 or $400 for a psychiatrist, which I've done before. When I was down in Alabama and I was contracting and I was making a lot of money, $400 for a session wasn't, it was like a drop in the bucket. Not so much now. I took a major pay cut to come here. But yeah, so I'm gonna try that out as well. Funny, I told my coworkers about the doctor too. And so he's kind of like, we refer to him as the witch doctor because he's got like all these crazy like remedies, and he's like a shaman now. And he's like, he's shaking up chicken bones and, trying to cleanse my spirit basically. It's like, obviously that's a major exaggeration, just joking around, but something funny I want to share with you guys. So there's obviously going to be a shorter video. That was just something I kind of wanted to talk about last week because I was just so frustrated with it. But I think the positive takeaway from this is when you get in a situation like that, and I know a lot of people will be like, oh, well, I feel a certain way about this because this is a doctor. He's gone to school for all these years. This is exactly what he does. And we hold doctors in such high regard that we feel that they are the end all, be all of medicine and just, I guess, anything, and whenever it comes to our bodies, we feel, hey, this person specifically is a person that I need to go to for everything. They know everything. They're always going to know everything. And you're like, that's not entirely true. That's why we have specialists, So I think, but the positive takeaway would be if something like that happens, don't be afraid to speak up and be like, hey, I don't feel comfortable about this, or to just leave, just go somewhere else, and obviously not everyone has that option. You can't do that. You only have certain doctors in your network or whatever. But at the end of the day, you might be better off just, going without instead of having some type of bad information, because you're like, all right, well, my condition's not too bad now, but it could be way worse with the wrong information, and not saying that, hey, you know what? Oh man, I feel bad about this doctor. I'm not telling you, if you disagree with one thing your doctor says, to just, tell them to kick rocks and move on. By no means am I saying that at all. I'm just saying, be wise about it and be strong, So if you feel like something's out of place, or you feel like me, I knew for a fact that this wasn't what I wanted, this wasn't what I came here for, and I've done an insane amount of research into my own mental issues, I felt that was the right time to speak up and just be like, all right, well, one or two of these things I could have let slide, but all of it all together, absolutely not. And so I moved on and I'm finding a different doctor. So by all means, just don't be afraid to stand up for yourself, and that's something that I'm trying to find, not trying, but I am finding I'm getting better at with time, especially with these mental illnesses that I have. And it's like, it's kind of something that happened yesterday with the guy at work that I got into it with. But that's something that I feel you get with time as you grow as a person. So that's all I have for now. Shorter video than usual. It's probably still going to be about 10 minutes or more. But if you guys had something similar happen to you, please let me know in the comments how you dealt with it, or just how you find or how you get good recommendations for good doctors. One thing too I want to put out there, completely unrelated to this doctor. So I got a Middle Eastern guy on Instagram. I don't want to say he's Indian and just assume, but he looks Middle Eastern, and he keeps sending me pictures of himself and sending me like little hearts and stuff. And he seems like a great guy. I want to let him down easy. So what should I say to this creepy man? Women who get that all the time, please let me know down in the comments, how do I deal with this creepazoid? So that's it for this week. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.